Alright, I'm here for a different project. I'm going to be doing a valve stem seal replacement on a BMW 750 Li, and I wanted to do a short little unboxing for a tool, the AGA N62 valve stem toolkit. Break that down, actually a pretty nice little kit. So comes in a nice little case, not too bad. Really well laid out. There's a video online that shows how to use this, so I'm not going to get too far into each of the details, but everything's got a place, everything's well held in. These are the compression feet, short, left, right. Oh, there it is. R for right. Looks like they're laser engraved. L, left. And this one said S. Yep, short. It was obvious. The 2 wrenches. Get into that. Here's the flag in the back. This goes in the hole. These are the spark plug hole adapters for the tube. This keeps stuff from going down into the spark plug hole, but also lets you use the flag. Here's the other hand tool pliers. I was worried about this because these are to pull out the seals, and this was included. I didn't see it in the list, but happy about that. And then this is the tool for the intake side. I'm getting into that too. The longer ones for the exhaust side. This is I believe this is the timing chain lock. Oops. I gotta check that. Keeper install tool. Nice. These are bolts to hold down the brackets. That's nice, they're laser engraved. So yeah, I'll talk about this a little bit more after I've done the job. Kind of let you know how I felt about the kit, if there's anything I felt was deficient or worked really well. So yeah, let me get this put back together. It also comes with instructions, which are not bad, but they have a really nice video online that shows the process for doing it. This doesn't have anything. I mean, it's just pictures and some instructions, but the video online is much more, a lot better, and it's on there. It's on the AGA. So. Oh, there's all the things. Huh. Yeah, see, I think they added this. I think they added these set of pliers later, because I'm not seeing it on any of the lists. It's not on this. Everything is supposed to be here. That's kind of nice. That's the only thing I was worried about. I didn't want to damage anything trying to get those out, because they're really deep down inside there. So. Interesting. So yeah, let's get to it. So I did an initial assessment on the AGA Tools N62 valve stem seal tool. To you, I just did it, and now I've had a chance to use it, and I want to give a final assessment and some tips that I learned during the process. So let me go through a few things. So overall, good set, great set, very robust, didn't have any problems, nothing broke, nothing seemed cheesy, nothing seemed, everything was well made, very solid. Let me go through each part here. Didn't have anything wrong with that. So initially when I started these, so this fits in here, when I started that, I had to put a little grease in here because it just didn't slide very well. However, as I was using it more and more, it kind of broke in. Plus, you get oil everywhere, and that helped lubricate it. So that wasn't a problem, but it was only a problem the very first, I don't know, maybe first 2 or 3 valves. Okay, so that was nothing wrong with that. That's the intake side. Let me get into this. This is the valve keeper install tool. I didn't use it. I had more trouble with this than anything else. I used it on the first bank for maybe 3 cylinders, and it turned into pure frustration. So I ended up just tossing this to the side. I bet I got it to work 30% of the time. And maybe it's just a practice thing. Once you practice it, it works. I ended up just taking a screwdriver, putting a dab of grease and the keeper, and doing it that way. And that was actually more successful for me. This, I couldn't get a handle on it. I kept dropping the keepers into the engine or into the head, and it was just frustrating. So this was not, I wasn't too keen on that, but maybe that's just me. The flag is nice. That just a good indicator. Nothing wrong with those, nothing wrong with those. This was nice for, I only ended up using this. This goes on top here for the intake valves. This kind of helps you keep it straight. And when you're recompressing the valve to put the keepers back on, it's nice to be able to make sure that the spring is lined up so you don't push the valve down and lose your pressure inside your chamber. The wrench was good. The crow's feet were good. These were nice. Didn't have any problem with those. They worked as I would have expected. They give you 8 of these little spark plug hole things. This is for the flag. I only ever used 4. I don't know why they give you 8. If you're not working on that bank on that side, I didn't see the purpose of putting these in. So, because there's always one cylinder, you don't put it in. So technically you only use 3 at a time if you really want to get crazy about it. Let me talk about these pliers. These are a lifesaver. These, I may not have liked this, but these make up for it. If you didn't have these, I don't know how you do it, because they are made perfectly for every single one of those valves. I did make one small adjustment to them. So the exhaust valves were pretty easy, or excuse me, the intake valves were quite easy to, you just get in there and give them a little twist and they pop off. But the exhaust valves, they were stuck. I really had a hard time. If you get it to twist, it would come off, but I busted quite a few knuckles pulling those off. So what I ended up doing is I just took a file and I sharpened these teeth that are in here. I put a little bit sharper point on them to get a little more grip, because the casings on those valve stem seals are they're hardened, so it still doesn't really grip into them, so it slips off easily. So that's one thing I did. That helped a little bit. I could have put a little bit more more bite onto them. And if this was hardened, it might help a little bit too. But other than that, it really was. This is a good tool. This is a lifesaver. Another thing that was in this set that I was surprised about, because it wasn't on the initial list, was this. This is the chain keeper. So I didn't start using it until after the third cylinder, because I had a problem with some leakage in one of the valves. So I had to turn the air up, and it ended up turning over on me just a little bit. But this clamps onto the timing chain to keep so you can just put as much air onto the cylinders you need, which is nice, because I ended up having to use it after that on every single one, because I had to turn the air up in order to get the valve to hold. So this was really nice too. This was a lifesaver also. But overall, this really good set. I mean, it's very well made. Everything's nice. The feet were just perfect for each part. It is a very well made set. It's not cheap. It's not made cheap. It's very well made. And also, anytime you have a kit like this, a set, and everything has its place, to me that's really important, because when I got done, I was able to put everything back in, and I knew I wasn't missing something. I didn't leave something in the engine or have a problem there. So that's really nice in that regard. Oh, and one more tool I forgot about. This little bad boy comes in here too. This is just a tiny little, it's to help, it protects the valve stem seal, the new one, when you put it in, so you don't mar the seal on the serrations on the valve. When in the kit of the new valve stem seals, they have these little plastic ones, and on the AGA tools video he shows those. Those, I had more trouble with those because they're hard to get off. You're reaching in a really tight hole. There's no way to hold that little plastic thing to get in. If you do, you use pliers and you end up ruining it, and it squashes down. This thing was nice because it's magnetic, so I just had to put it on the end of a magnet, slide it over the valve, slide the magnet off, do my thing, and then grab the magnet and pull it off. So I ended up using that on every single one. That was, those plastic ones, they were okay for the exhaust valves, but this was just less heartache. So, but yeah, so this was a good set. I recommend this set. So I did pay, it was a lot to pay, but I got quotes to do this job for $3,500, and that was the cheap route. So really this saved me a lot. And it did its job. So, although I could see the advantage, everyone that wanted to quote it takes the engine out of the car. I can definitely see an advantage there. All things equal, taking out of the car would be faster. They estimate this job to take anywhere from, I think, 20 to 30 hours, and that's about right. If you don't run into any problems, I would give that a right assessment. I was getting close to I was at about 22 hours estimated 22 to 24 when I ran into a problem that I'm going to talk about. Hopefully help you if you're doing this, so you don't spend a week or two like I did trying to figure out what I did. So it's a good kit. I really like this tool kit. It was worth it. So I saw another one on Amazon that was really cheap. I don't know about that one. This one I think has a few more gadgets and gizmos that are really helpful. So Okay, so as I was doing the valve stem seal replacement job, I ran into a pretty heart-dropping, about to cry scenario. I finished the first bank. I did the left bank first, and then I was on the next. I had already just finished cylinder 2, and I was going to do, I think, cylinder 1. And in the AGA tools kit, it gives you the cylinder firing order, and that's what I was following, but I just stayed on one bank. And I have another tip about that too. But so as I was going, I was rotating the engine to get to top dead center on cylinder 1, and it stopped. It seized. It wouldn't. I couldn't go any further. So anybody who's ever worked on an engine, that is a just make me cry. That is, I didn't cry, but that really is a scary thing. So, but I could turn it back. I could still go back, but it stopped again. But it was like 180. It was weird. So I spent a good week trying to figure out what was going on, because I didn't want to break anything. I didn't know if I dropped something, had something on wrong. I ended up taking off almost all the rocker arms on that whole bank to figure out what was going on. My two initial assessments were I had either dropped something into the timing chain somewhere in that cavity there, and something was rolling around inside of there and catching, but it was only catching in that kind of 180-degree scenario, or I had somehow screwed up the timing and a valve was opening when the cylinder was coming up. That was my other assessment. I had bore scopes, I had everything. Oh, another thing, I thought maybe I dropped something down the spark plug hole and a screw or something, and it was hitting. Because it was a good stop. It just wouldn't move. So as I was using the bore scope and looking in each cylinder for something, I mean, a screw would have been obvious. I had a really good bore scope. What I ended up, and I didn't realize what it was at first. So what happened was I had been burning oil for a while, and there was quite a bit of carbon in the cylinders. Not unheard of for the amount of miles, but it was quite a bit. So what I noticed in the bore scope, I didn't know it was as big a problem as it was. So in the cylinder, I noticed this little black spot at the bottom of the cylinder. And what it ended up being is carbon on two of the cylinders that I'd already worked on. Carbon had broken free from whatever surfaces on there and had fallen down into the bottom of the cylinder. And so when I was cranking over, when that cylinder came to the top of the stroke, and it seems like there's a lot of space in these cylinders, but that carbon was getting compressed. Because what happened is I got a little frustrated about this, because as I was pushing, it was a hard stop, but it also felt, it didn't feel like I was actually hitting something. Something was being, something hard. So I just put a little extra pressure, and it actually did end up going past. And I got past that, which that was like winning the lottery. It moved. So once I got it past, then it still was stopping, but it was stopping at a different time. So that kind of changed the scenario. So I ended up getting a vacuum,
and duct taping a tube, a small tube on the end of it, and putting that down the spark plug hole and sucking up the carbon. So as soon as I took the vacuum, sucked out each cylinder really good, made sure there was no carbon in there, it ended up turning over just fine. So that's your tip. If you run into that problem where it stops, check the cylinders, make sure there's no carbon, or because I don't think there's a way to prevent that. I just had a lot in the cylinders that just broke free. Okay, so my other tip. So in regards to that, where I did the first bank, following the firing order on that bank, and then going to the other side, one thing I would recommend is you can follow that firing order. I don't think that's a problem. But to save, so what really made it hard for me was I had to backtrack, because as soon as it seized up, I used process of elimination and kind of went backwards. However, it didn't work. The assessment wasn't working right. My initial detective work didn't pan out, and didn't make sense because it was kind of random. But what I recommend is, if you follow the firing order, that's fine. But after you're done, rotate the cylinder all the way around to make sure that, don't go to the next one, and then, because you're only turning a few degrees, run all the way around. That way you're checking to make sure the cylinder you just did is clear and free. So it will, if you do have a problem, you know exactly what the problem is. That would be the one thing I would change. So you don't have a problem after you do a whole bank and then have to go back. So that would at least help me have pinpointed pinpoint an exact cylinder. It ended up being the 6 and 8 cylinder that had the most problem. But so that would be my next tip. So thanks for watching. Hope you like this. Hit the like, subscribe, and keep watching some videos.